Hello guys, welcome back to another video, and today we have the Jurassic World Frenzy Pack Torvoneustes to review. Anyways, let's jump into this review. I find it interesting that Mattel went with a marine reptile that literally no one knew about and no one knew how to pronounce, instead of Metriorhynchus, which looks very similar to this animal. Just very surprised they didn't go with Metriorhynchus. It's just pretty, like, it's not super popular, but at least I know a decent amount of people know what Metriorhynchus is, and probably would have wanted to see it in the Mattel toy line, especially after Dachosaurus. Though I'm not mad at this species being in the toy line. Definitely happy we get to see it, though I hope we get to see Metriorhynchus, and maybe even a Plesiosuchus in the future, though that would hopefully be in a bigger size range, like maybe Wilds are. Or maybe even, if they oversize it even more, maybe gigantic Thrashers, though I think I'd rather save that for maybe like a bigger Pliosaur or something else. But anyways, onto this figure. Looking at the packaging, we have Frenzy Pack Torvoneustes, Jurassic World Rebirth Spinosaurus render, the Jurassic World Rebirth render, ocean background, the actual Torvoneustes figure. Then on the back, we can see all the other figures, which I actually got the Edmontonia and one of the Wave 2 figures, which we'll compare it to that in a minute. So, yeah, I want to get this guy out of the packaging because there's something I actually wanted to point out with the packaging. I didn't even realize that I did this until afterwards. Until I was just filming the last review. I didn't even realize that I did this one, well, at least when it came to my selection of figures. Pretty much, let me, again, get this guy out of the packaging first. Absolutely beautiful. We'll take a look at you in a second. Put you back there. Let me go get the other two Frenzy Pack packaging. Here. May not seem like much, but if you look on the back, which now I'm just realizing, I don't think they did it on these figures. But if I go to get, like, let me go grab one of the bigger boxes real fast. Okay, thought I was going to have to get one of the really big boxes, but the Indostrand box actually shows it. Pretty much, they're trying to do, like, a land, air, and sea, like, land, sea, and air theme for the Rebirth figures, kind of represent the three biomes they have to go through the movie. I didn't even realize that I got a Danger Pack figure for each one of these biomes. We have this thing for air, this Torvoneustes for water, and Edmontonia for land. So it's really cool. Also, I think it's a shame that they didn't put that logo. They could have put, like, right here. Let me actually hold it up. Right here on the box. I don't see it anywhere on the packaging. Or even, like, somewhere in the front of the packaging. I don't see the land, air, and sea kind of theme. Which I think this is the only packaging in which they left it off. Which is a bit of a shame. I'll probably keep all three of these boxes just to kind of have one thing that has, like, the land, air, and sea theming. But, yeah. On to the actual main event. The actual Torvoneustes figure. So, yeah. Anyways, first, looking at this thing's head. It is absolutely beautifully sculpted. Of course, the teeth are a bit sloppily painted, but outside of that, they're really cool since they're really sharp. And they just look really good. Like, you can actually feel kind of the sharpness while rolling your finger down the teeth. Inside the mouth, the roof is not painted, unfortunately, but the lower jaw with the tongue is, which is really nice to see. Has a nice yellow eye with a slit pupil, which is just like the color underneath, which I suppose is all right. Not anything new we haven't seen Mattel do. The paint is really sloppy on the side. I couldn't really pick a different one since this was the only one they had, though I think this one is all right. I also think the mouth stays definitely not the best version of this figure, but I think it's still a passable one. Anyways, going down, it has like this kind of green color down his back. So yeah. Interesting that they didn't go with like a darker blue instead, but yeah. Moving down, we can see just more more scales and wrinkling. The fins, which actually have tears in them, which I think they kept it to a minimum, which is pretty good. Hind fins, also something. And then the tail, which ironically, actually, the shortness of this figure and like kind of like the bulkiness of this figure doesn't look as bad in person, and if anything, looks worse in the photos. And like if you compare this to the real animal, of course, it still looks really off. But just as a figure in general, I think it doesn't look that bad. So yeah, underbelly, kind of just simple. And also, let me show the scan code for this figure since I don't want to forget, because I have a tendency of doing that with the Rebirth figures. I think I only forgot about the Indostrand Survey figure. I've been trying to remember with literally all these other ones. If I can get it to focus, of course. I think I already showed it the other angle, so hopefully that one works. But yeah, the articulation for this figure pretty much can go up this far, so it can look like straight up. Also, looking at this figure, it'd be cool to see if we got like a dolly Corintops or something like that. That'd be pretty cool to see. But anyways, the neck can go that far down, so it has a decent range of articulation. The jaw can open up, I'd say about that far. I can't really go any further than that. because they actually put something to prevent it from opening that far, like the kind of notch in the lower jaw. Then it has articulation in the flippers, which are actually rubber, which can go down this far, up about this far, and then just kind of on a ball joint, so they can really go in any direction you'd like them to. Same for the back flippers, down this far, up this far, and pretty much any other direction you'd like. And you can get this guy in a pretty decent swimming position. Like, here, that's pretty natural. Tail can swivel, of course, though. Literally no one uses a tail swivel, really. Of course, this figure is a bit top-heavy, but it still works well enough. And you can probably actually fix that just by moving these up a little bit. And that basically stables it out enough. So yeah, on to the size comparison for this figure. This figure measures in at about 7.5 inches long, which is pretty long. And in height, measures in at like 2.25 inches at the top of the head in this position. And I'd say about a little bit less than 2 inches at the hip there. So yeah, now to actually compare it to some things. First, here's it next to a human figure, which I think Torvoneustes, I think, if this figure was elongated, the reason they actually just made it a little bit stubby. Otherwise, if this was like elongated out properly, it would go out to like here, and it would actually be pretty accurate size. So, but as like a stumpier version of that, I guess this is pretty good. And then next to the Dacosaurus, which is the other kind of marine croc that Mattel has released. Here it is. I still think the Dacosaurus is a bit better since it's less... Like, the Dacosaurus is basically not cartoony at all, while this one is a bit cartoony. Also, I think I prefer the Dacosaurus' colors. But, yeah, again, I think they're both really cool and hope we get more from this group of animals. I still find it funny that this group of marine crocs that, again, the general public do not know very well, has two different species, two different genuses represented by Mattel, but ichthyosaurs still have none. Still find that kind of wild. But, yeah. Anyways, next, here's it compared to the other Rebirth figures. First, here's the Edmontonia, a great ankylosaur and marine reptile pair. For every great marine crocodile and ankylosaur pair, well, I mean, for every great marine reptile, there is a great ankylosaur to pair. Every single time. This happened with Dacosaurs. We both, like, the best ankylosaur figure we ever got paired with one of the best marine reptile figures. And same thing again. I do think that these first two were a little bit better, but I still think that these ones are still amazing. The only thing is that these ones have slightly off proportions, which the other ones do not, so that's why they have a slight edge, but still. Think that this figure is really good. Another thing to compare it to is actually, let me keep the Edmontonian in here. Before you have land, air, and sea, we also have this pterosaur, which is really weird because it can perch, but at the same time can't balance. So, yeah. Anyways, here it is compared to the Torvoneustes. So, yeah. Pretty decently sized. Okay, going to take both of these out. Next, here's it next to a Velociraptor figure, of course, which it actually outsizes quite a bit. Well, the Velociraptor outdoes it in length, though I think this figure might be a bit bulkier. So, yeah. Now to actually compare it to some marine reptiles. Here's it with the Plesiosaurus figure, which it's like the exact same length as. No joke, it's actually crazy how close in length these are. But really nice. And also, you could probably have this guy bite onto the Plesiosaurus' neck. Kind of looks pretty cool. Also, I hope we get a new Plesiosaur figure. I know there has to be some other smaller Plesiosaur figures that I think it'd be cool if they made one of those, maybe with a little bit more of a realistic design, with sharper teeth and such. And again, since this is a croc, here's the next to Caprosuchus. Sizes up with pretty nicely. Also, I don't know why, even though this has really nothing to do with any other ones, I don't know why I didn't put the Inostrand survey next to it. Sizes up with pretty interestingly, but yeah. Next, here's it compared to another prehistoric croc, the Gryphosuchus, which it is considerably smaller than, and the Gryphosuchus, admittedly, is not crazily bigger than it. So, I mean, it's not in like a crazy big size range, it's just in the wild or size range, so yeah. Anyways, next here's Sarcosuchus, just to grab the figure off its back. See, this is when Mattel used to make bite forces strong enough to actually pick up figures. So yeah, Sarcosuchus can actually pick this guy up in his jaws and shake it around. I know we're getting the new Persaur soon, which when I do a review of that figure, I'll compare it to that too. But yeah, here's it next to the Sarcosuchus figure. And it gets dwarfed by that thing. Next, here's it compared to more marine reptiles. Here's it next to the Liopleurodon figure, which outsizes it, and the Kronosaurus figure, which let me just grab it. Basically the same size as the Liopleurodon figure, also outsizes it by quite a bit. hopefully get a re-release of Chronosaurus or even a Pliosaurus in the gigantic Thrasher size range. But anyways, next, again, two very similar creatures. We have the Elasmosaurus and the Styxosaurus, which also both outside of the Styxosaurus kind of fits the theme of this figure more somehow. So, yeah, it's kind of cool. It's like the size of their neck. And last, but not least, the big rebirth marine reptile, the Mosasaurus, which can just... Okay, if the bite force wasn't so weak, it would be able to literally pick the thing up. I mean, it kind of can. It gets dwarfed by this thing 10 times fold. Like the size of this thing... Okay, if it didn't fall off, you can see that it's basically the size of this thing's head. If I can get the balance, yeah. It's like the size of the Mosasaurus' head. And honestly, I want to see real fast. Again, fell off again. Curious if it can actually fit in its mouth. Not really. It cannot actually do like the blasting action feature with this thing. Too small, unfortunately. But kind of fits. So, yeah. Anyways, for my final thoughts on this figure. It's a really nice Jurassic figure, and if you like marine creatures, just like me, definitely recommend picking up this figure. Also, it's really weird that this one's $11 while all the other Frenzy Pack figures are $8. Don't know why, and also there's the only one in store. I think Mattel has something fishy going on with the marine reptiles. Anyways, I still think it's worth the price. Definitely recommend picking up if you see it. Definitely one of the best Frenzy Packs. It's between this and the Edmontonia, but this one has better articulation. Edmontonia is a better sculpt, but I think I kind of like this figure a little bit more. Anyways, I think this is great and definitely recommend picking it up, and I will see you guys in the next one. Goodbye!